do have a, so we can get started. So I will call this meeting of the Public Site and Building Commission to order at 7:02. Does anybody have a flag? Kathy's got her flag. Okay, so please join me in the pledge. Pledge allegiance to
the flag,
the United States of America,
and
to
to
the
the
republic
republic for which it stands,
one
one
nation,
nation,
under God,
under God, indivisible, with liberty, justice for all.
Thank you. Okay, public input. Don't see any public, so good with that. And correspondence, unless something arrived to Kathy or anyone else after I last talked to everybody. I think we're good with that too. So we have we have to approve meeting minutes from 2 meetings. Since we at the start of the meeting last time we didn't have a quorum, we decided to wait on the meeting minutes. So I'll make a motion to approve the regular meeting minutes from September 14th, 2022. Need a second?
Second.
I got a second from who? John Menti?
Yeah.
Yep, okay. Is there any discussion or anything that needs to be dated, corrected, etc.? We're all good? All in favor?
Aye.
I abstain.
Opposed? Bob abstains. Was that was the 14th? Were you at that meeting or was it the 28th that you missed? You missed both of them?
I think just the 28th.
Okay, so we're doing the 14th this time.
Oh, okay. Change it.
Yeah. Yep. So you don't have to abstain. You have to abstain for the next one. So I'll make a motion that we, so that's everybody. Nobody's needing to abstain. And then I'll make a motion that we approve the regular meeting minutes of September 28th, 2022.
I'll second it.
Menti seconds. Any discussion or updates needed for that? We're all good. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Bob needs to abstain.
Yep.
And I think Dino needs to abstain too, right? Yeah, Dino abstains. There's nobody opposed, so I think we're good. All right, so we'll get into our old business with our school projects. Closeout update. So Ken or Jim, what do we got on? Where are we with the landscaping parts?
So right now, Sunburst cut the grass for the second time on Saturday, so we're ready for the final inspection.
Okay, so they did a second cutting. Most of what I saw other times I've been walking around up there looked pretty good. The one thing I didn't get to check was up at the Rockwell playground that goes down that steep slope towards Whittlesea, where there was the big gully. I was gonna check it, what that looked like, but I didn't get there. I don't know if anybody else is there.
I had looked at that a couple of weeks ago and it looked good.
Okay,
All right,
Yeah, I saw it.
I'll reach out to Dave and see when they want to go out there and take a look.
okay. And you'll let us all know?
Yes, yes.
Okay. I was up there 3, maybe 4 weeks ago. That whole area looked great. The grass was coming up. Then I've only seen that area. I didn't see it up close recently. I just saw it from far away. I don't know. Roy says it looks pretty good. I don't know if anybody else is taking a look at it.
I think it looks good too, Nance.
Yeah. Well, that's good. And then we'll just get the final okay, and then we can keep moving on. So with that, I know we had a kind of a short discussion last time about the procedure that we're going to kind of have to go through. And maybe we could just kind of quickly go over that. Jim or Ken could let us know. once it's okay, and then we should be able to get going on the closeout process, but isn't it you Rizzo can't just submit an application for payment. You're gonna have to, there's already the claim by priority. And then they also are saying that we owe them even more for them doing rework. That's what I'm remembering. Yes, or
Sorry, yeah, yes, so it would be a billing for the priority balanced in order to pay Sunburst. And then at Rockwell, we'll have to use a little bit of contingency dollars that we have left to pay the difference. There was an additional list. I think the total was about $18,000 worth of work that Sunburst did that wasn't on that original punch list. So that overruns on there by about $4,000. So I think there's a balance of 14, if I'm not mistaken, in that.
Yeah.
contingency.
Mhm. So then, are you then able to submit your application for payment, or is there going to be get a bill from Sunburst and then you pay them? Or then, or is it, what's the kind of step-by-step that's gonna have to happen since priority?
Sure. So we'd be having to bill for priorities, contract balance, and his retainage to put it toward the Sunburst payment. So that's what, we'd have to actually submit a requisition for both schools for the balance of what priority, assuming everything's acceptable with Sunburst, and then pay Sunburst with those funds.
And at what point, so then you submit an application for payment for both schools for the total amounts that are owed to you, Rizzo, correct?
Correct. Technically, it's the priority funds. It's his contract balance and the
And the
retainage we
retainage.
had left. Yeah,
And is that pretty much all that I'm remembering? That's all that's left in the,
pretty much. I think there was old change orders to get cleaned up on Johnson, but other than that, I think it's pretty well cleaned up.
a future, are there any, is there any retainage still floating out there for anybody else or?
No, it's just priority.
And then once we do that, you're thinking that that might trigger,
So we'll have to send notice to priority that that's, what we're doing with those funds. So that should get a response.
okay,
Hey, Jim, I was wondering if you could put together a total obligation that the so-called we would be owing priority, so at least we know what the liability is. There's going to be some discussion, I know, coming up, as far as closing the project, and this is going to become I think, a thorn in everyone's side. So I think if you could start to prepare, what all the liabilities might be.
Sure, that's not a problem. We can get that out.
because isn't it about, number that sticks in my head is 50,000 combined for both schools, like,
That's close. If everything that we know today that priority is claiming it, his
right,
contract balance was somewhere in the 40s. His claim was somewhere around 12. So,
12,
yeah,
right, yeah, okay,
that's probably where that number comes from.
right.
Okay.
So,
If you could total it up, so at least we know, so at least, we're all aware of, the implications that we might have for closing up the project.
Sure, not a problem.
yeah,
Thanks, Jim.
and I think there was thought Terry was gonna be on to do a little training of the kind of state Office of School Construction, blah, 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 close out part 2. And that was something that Dr. Carver brought up at the last meeting where we want to try not to have some kind of long extended closeout process. We do it as quickly as possible so that the audit process that has to be done, the way I'm understanding it, can happen also because there's the amount that the state will continue to hold back from the town, from the reimbursement money, that we won't get until that audit process happens. And the audit process doesn't happen until all the paperwork is done. So the longer that we wait on that whole closeout process, longer the town has to wait to get that reimbursement funding. So we're gonna have to see about how we can get a lot of this tied up as quickly as possible. So Ben, do you have anything on this?
No, I mean, we just gotta get that final input then.
Yeah.
And figure out how we can get the project closed up from that point.
Yeah, yep. I know in email conversations with Ben this week, he didn't send out the tracking budgets for the total project cost analysis, because there was no change since last week. We haven't, or last meeting. We haven't had any funds going out. Definitely not any coming in. So we did send those out, so we don't need to take a look at those unless somebody has questions, needs to look at them, just give us a follow and we can put them up. The other issue that we're still dealing with is the stormwater management area and the level spreader. So resolving that issue is still kind of planning stages. A bunch of us went up to look at that again, Roy and myself, and that took a lot of people from SLR, Darren and Dave. And as we were looking around, we were thinking too about, and looking at the land, because the land slopes off in some areas steeply, in some areas not so steeply, pretty much steep, towards the East Swamp Brook. And we were unsure of whether that was all town land or whether it was land trust, etc. So we looked on the property maps and found it's town land. But we figured we better start looking at what might be needed. Whatever remediation we're doing in that area is going to affect the site, and how we might need to do something through either planning and zoning or in wetlands, etc. So I sat down and talked with Beth Magna, town planner. And she asked to have James DeMayo there. James is our town engineer. He's relatively new, but he's been on for, I'm not sure how, but been around for a bit. And he also has a lot of experience in, he's a civil engineer and has a lot of experience in site planning, etc. So he wanted to take a look, and Beth asked me to get him whatever information. She wants him to be a part of the process of mediation, so he's familiar with it, because it's going to be something that's going to be a part of our school property for hopefully a long time to come. We don't have to do any changes, etc. to it. So, James, I took James up there. We did a quick look around, and he's going to be in touch with SLR to see where their planning is and be a part of that whole process of coming up with, as I said, remediation for that. And I've asked a few times something, Bob, or I don't know how this would be dealt with through, but it might be through schools or through the town. That stormwater management area needs to periodically be, I don't know how you do it, mowed. Yes, they used some sort of kind of like wildflower mix in there to help hold things together, the soil, etc. It looks like a nice meadow. Yet you have to be careful with, if the flowers are flowers that just die off and then grow back every year, that's great. But when we start getting larger things growing in there, bushes, trees, etc., we have to make sure that that doesn't overrun the place. Because I think Ken will probably attest to when they started working on that area, there were some pretty big trees in there, what I was told. And you don't want big trees, right? They can be growing around the edges. management area. So we're gonna have to need to figure out how that gets taken care of and who does it. Maybe once a year or something like that, once every 2 years. Can check into that and just make sure that that gets taken care of on a periodic basis. So that doesn't get overrun by, it's basically big woody things, so bushes, trees, etc.
Well, I can have my landscaper at least look at it, grass cutter, and and see what he thinks. Probably during a fall or spring cleanup, it'd probably be the time to give it a
Right.
quick look-see.
Yeah, yeah. 'Cause I
Maybe
don't,
even some of the big stuff taken out,
yeah,
then it's just a maintenance of it.
right, right. I don't think there's any, well, there might be one or two things getting started in there. It's kind of been growing for a couple of years, but we don't want to get it to the point where it was what was there before, and I don't know how that was dealt with, but there were some pretty big trees. So, definitely.
We're not talking about us doing it as part of the project, are we?
No, this is like a maintenance kind of thing that would happen periodically, maybe once every 2 years or whatever. You know, we could ask and make sure that we know what kind of frequency we might have to take care of something. So no, it wouldn't be part of the project. It becomes,
Yeah, I'm currently doing that now for the track house, around the back of the track house.
yeah,
To make sure that doesn't get overgrown. So you would just
Right.
incorporate it into our grass cutting.
yeah. And like I said, it doesn't have to be a frequent thing. Having the flowers grow in there, etc. I would suggest going in there, walk around, because I know it's not just all dirt. There's a lot of riprap in there, etc., which would make it something. I don't know what type of, whether the vent track would work on. You'd have to check it. Okay, does anybody else have, I have an invoice. Well, do I have an invoice? No, I don't have an invoice. That's a different project. I don't have any invoices. Anybody else have any questions, comments, things that we need to look at? Ken or Jim have anything else?
I would like to say something. Is
Sure.
it possible, the whole thing with SLR and the drainage and everything like that?
Yep.
I don't know much about that. Haven't been involved in it. But could we possibly get a number? And like Roy was saying, for the landscaping, and get a number on if there's corrections that have to be made, and just put that money aside and let's get the project closed out. I mean,
So,
you know,
The-
we're talking, we meet, you know, we don't meet that often. This could turn out to be another 3 months, and we're talking about the drainage. And
Yeah.
we're holding out, closing out the project, and the town getting all that money.
right,
I
I'm
think we're
struggling with
okay.
it a little bit, to be honest with you, because it
Yeah.
always seems like things are getting kicked up and the closeout's getting delayed. And
Hey, John, I think on this, so after the engineers and kind of everyone went and looked at it, I think the general feeling is it generally looks like they did build it, according to plan. And,
Sure.
just that some of the original design criteria the data might have been a little bit flawed. So I think the way we probably should proceed on this is, this really shouldn't be part of the project. I think we're just gonna have to cover this later on.
that's exactly where I was going.
Secondary,
Yeah, really.
okay? I think
That's exactly where I was going, Roy.
we're really fighting an uphill battle, and
Yeah,
everything is too far down the road. That the items really have been closed out, John. So I think we
Yeah.
just have to look at it as a cleanup item as part of the project.
yes, that's what we talked about, was to not have to go through this process of having Rizzo involved, etc., because that delays the closeout. But
Yeah.
we will need to make some sort of plan of how we're going to take care of making sure the whole washout doesn't continue, because it's kind of a mess back.
Yeah, it's a big one.
Yeah. So is that Terry? Did Terry come in by phone? Or is that not Terry?
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you have any questions, I'm sorry I'm late getting on the meeting. I understand that Nancy and Dr. Carver spoke. And the state was very clear that we need to resolve everything and pay all bills so that we can close out the project. So I'm sorry that I walked in late, but if you have any questions, I'm here.
Well, I'm glad you are, because we did talk about it a little bit. So my question would be, if we have the closeout done with Rizzo, so that's the outstanding thing that's on the part of the GMP is the landscaping. And so we're at a point where we're getting pretty close to resolving that. And Rizzo submitting a final application for payment, us paying it. The first thing that has to happen actually is they did the second grass cutting, and so Perkins Eastman SLRs are out to do their little walk around, and anybody else that wants to be a part of that, they're going to let us know so we can let people know when that is.
Well, that sounds correct, Nancy. So I think in order to close the project, all the final applications for payment have to be submitted and all those bills have to be paid. And then
Okay.
at that point, we're able to do the state filing.
Okay, so then as far as dealing with the stormwater management area, which we will most likely not do through Rizzo, but some funds from the project will be expended to do that. Is that going to cause an issue?
I don't believe that will cause an issue as long as all of the main people that there were contracts with have a final submission for payment and those are paid, then I believe we're able to file with the state.
Okay, it's good to know.
What about the architect and the design side? Does that have to be closed out with the project, the file?
That's a good question.
Well, the architect would submit any bills related to, you know, the work, the landscaping work that is still outstanding that you're waiting for Rizzo to be able to give a final payment authorization to pay. So you'd want, you know, for that part, you'd want a final SPV payment bill and a final Perkins Eastman bill
Right.
relating to that.
We just authorized, or the town just authorized, the architect to move forward with the new design for the stormwater management. And that was through Perkins Eastman and in their civil,
But not through Rizzo.
not through Rizzo, correct?
Correct. Yeah, our contracts with the town.
Correct.
So for those contracts that are direct with just the town, I think those can continue. I mean, there was still funding left in the project. I believe those can continue direct. But the first thing that the auditors from the state will look for when they come in are the final applications for payment for everything else related to within the project scope. That was
Okay.
originally.
Right, but the architect's costs are reimbursed, correct?
Yes, yes. So as soon as the landscaping is settled, and sometimes it makes, I'm not telling you what the right answer is, but sometimes it makes sense to settle because the cost of attorneys, et cetera, ends up being more than necessary, and you are better off just settling. So if that's the only project-related eligible cost left, if you settle that, and you get a final application from Rizzo, and then you get a final bill from Perkins Eastman and SPV related to all of that, then I think we're set. And then after that, it's really outside the project scope.
But Perkins Eastman is still going to be a few months out, will they not?
Well, yes, but I think
The final bill.
those funds would most likely not be reimbursable because of we've already kind of theoretically paid for that part. It's kind of like a change order that didn't happen in a timely fashion, but it's not really a change order. So it
Well,
kind
the state pays for rework.
say that again, Terry.
The state does not pay for rework.
Right. Okay.
So with the landscaping, whichever landscaper we ended up going with and actually paying, that's the one they'll consider eligible, and they'll consider a payment for, for the project and for reimbursement. But rework is never eligible anyway.
Right. And the stormwater management area, paying for any design or work on that, that's not going to be eligible for reimbursement either.
I don't believe so, because is Joe Colada on the line? It
Yeah,
sounds
yeah.
to me like that's outside what the scope of the design project was, so,
Yeah, it'll be outside the project limit line.
okay.
It's not outside the scope because the scope included the stormwater management area. However, things aren't working as they were planned for, etc. So something has to be done to make some corrections. But the limit line of the project is pretty much just a little bit downhill from where the whole stormwater management area is. It's still
Mhm.
property, but the line that was drawn around the project doesn't include the area that we're going to have to work on.
So I think where we left off, Nancy, was Dr. Carver was trying to get a meeting with yourself
Well, so
and
that's actually different,
Brad Fearing and
Right.
and Marty Lawler,
right?
so
But that's
that,
not that's about landscaping stuff, not specifically
Yeah.
about stormwater management. We will talk about that too.
Correct.
I think where Vin's coming from is that, if this is still stormwater management part is still, it's something everybody wants to get done before winter. Want it done. We don't want to sit over the winter and have to deal with it in the spring, especially with spring snow melt, all that kind of stuff. So we're trying to get that done as soon as possible. So it's not something that's going to get dragged out yet. It's not something that's reimbursable. We just don't know how the state's going to look at it.
well, if it's going to get wrapped up very soon, I don't see an issue with it, but I think, the amount of the holdback with the state on the project too starts to come into play. And just being frank, because
Right.
the Board of Finance is aware that that's the holdback, et cetera, et cetera. So I think there's a lot of pressure to just resolve these couple of issues. And you guys pretty much have that landscaping resolved, except that you'll have to have some type of agreed upon settlement there. And the stormwater, I'm not as up on, but if it can get done quickly, I think that's fine.
Yeah, Nancy, it sounds like SLR will have drawings that we could share with James for his review tomorrow. So
Okay,
I would
good.
say this week, just in case something comes up.
Yep.
And then we'll have a call with him.
Okay. Good. Great. All right. Does anybody else have anything else on the school projects, questions? My understanding is that the whole ESC report, everything's getting worked through and resolved and dealt with, et cetera. Yep, that's good. Good.
Yeah, the Board of Ed's gonna handle all that, right? That's what we agreed on?
Yeah, the 6
Well-
items that were given back to us, yeah, there's a plan in motion right now. It's in the hands of a couple different contractors.
So there's no plans there's no plans or any need of additional funding to
Not,
finish up on that discussion, Nancy. It's We're
Yeah,
done.
not that I'm aware of. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else? We're good with the school stuff. Anything else from Ken or Jim? Probably not. Anything else from Benny? We're all good. Okay. So, hopefully we'll have a lot of stuff to wrap up at our next meeting. In between, some of us are going to be working on, if we're going to do the walk around with landscaping. I'm sure a couple people might want to be a part of that. Like I said, we'll let people know. And the same with stormwater management area. And Chris will keep us posted on what's happening with application for payments, so things like that. But first, we'll have that walk around first, so we can accept the closeout of the landscape. So thank you. Anyone else has anything else on school projects? Thank you, Jim. Thank you, Joe. Thank you, Ken. Thank you, Bob. Thank you, Terry.
Yeah, I'm so sorry I was late getting on.
That's okay. You
Um,
answered our questions.
If you know the date you're gonna walk around, if you would include me, just so that if I am going to be back in Western Connecticut, I would make sure I'm there.
Okay.
Will do. I'm gonna check with SLO tomorrow and
Okay.
see when they could come
It's
out
so
there.
good to hear all your voices. So,
It's good to hear you too. All righty. Thanks, everyone.
See you
Good
later.
night, everyone.
Thank
Night.
you.
have a good, all right, bye.
We're gonna go on to the training range. So there's two things, and I don't know if Ben got any other information than I did. The contract, the Downs contract, had been signed by Downs, and Marty Lawler wanted to quickly review it before it was signed by the town. And he finally did that and got back to us over the weekend and said that everything was fine. He just needed to have the signature area changed to take Matt Knickerbocker's name out. So I replied to that email and asked Jeff Anderson if he could take care of that and get it back to us so we could get a signature on it. But I didn't get a reply from Jeff. And I don't know, Vinny, if you got any.
No, I didn't get a reply either, but I'll reach out to Jeff in the morning.
Okay, that would be good. And then, Vinny, do you have any update or anything for us from Action Target?
Action Target, I believe I've seen the email that their drawings are completed. I am trying to get a meeting together with the project manager to go over the HVAC questions that I received earlier last week. Who was it from?
It was from John Perna.
John Perna, correct. So been having some trouble trying to get together with him. He's actually out of state now, so trying to get together to talk to him about the requirements that the town is looking for and seeing if there's any additional costs for those requirements. If there's going to be additional cost for extending the warranty and other items that are in that list, and we'll have to come back to the town and see what the town wants to do with that. But it sounds like John was pretty adamant about having these items. I think a lot of these items go back to the schools and the issues that were going on with the school. So when I get together with the project managers for Action Target, I'll get that resolved. Once I get Downs contract on board, I'm going to get a coordination meeting between Action Target, Downs, and myself, and we'll start coordinating the next process. Action Target wants to start bringing stuff in. They want to start delivering items. I just want to make sure that the items that they're delivering doesn't interfere with Downs in their work. Because we don't want to be bringing in expensive equipment, having people working over it, possibly dropping something or damaging something, because we don't want that to happen.
Yeah, I think we're going to out, Vinny, that if they do want to start delivering some stuff, and we have to think about where it's going to be kept. Like you said, is it going to be in the way of work being done with some of the infrastructure they need, Action Target, to hook up to? And how is it large enough stuff? Because I know we're gonna have to break a hole in the wall to get some of
Gonna
the,
put a hole in the wall, correct, yeah. I think the items that they want to bring in actually get assembled on site. It's
Okay.
the actual firing, it's the actual assembly of the firing range that they want to start bringing in. They
right,
want to bring it into the firing range and store it there to be installed later. And my concern goes back to, what are you bringing in? Is there a chance it's going to get damaged? Is it going to be in Down's way for them to do their work? That's what this meeting will coordinate and make sure. If we don't have any issues, we're all for Action Target bringing stuff in. The only thing they mentioned, if they start bringing in the material, they want to start billing for it, which is acceptable if it's on site.
Mhm.
They can bill for the delivery of it, but they can't bill for the installation.
right. The other thing that I think Action Target needs to be aware of is that room is still not air controlled at all.
Right.
So if any of the equipment that they're delivering needs to be under any sort of,
Climate control, then we have to figure that out. And
Yep.
so I'll be talking to them about that to make sure, if the conditioning in the room is, especially going into the winter months, is it going to be an issue?
right. And then you might need to check too with Brian Humes to see, like, would he need to or want to be on any coordination meeting as he's finishing up his plans?
Yeah.
I think that's a good idea, Nancy.
Yeah,
I,
you need to check in with him.
I think the most important thing is, because of equipment lead time, without the HVAC unit, we don't have a working range, is Vinny was expecting the submittal from Action Target. And what I'd like to stress to our team here is, I came up with kind of like a menu of different options that are available for the equipment. And just, we should talk as a team to see which ones we want to select. I will say one of the most important ones that I feel, we had so much problems with moisture in the range
Right.
that the unit could be ordered with what's called hot gas reheat. So if the humidity ever gets high in that gun range, particularly that you're not using it all the time, the unit will come on and actually act as a dehumidifier and dry the space out. That's just one example. All this new equipment is proprietary. So the days of calling the guy down the street to work on it is getting less and less. You have to go back to the manufacturer because you got to have the software for the unit. So that's where an extended warranty becomes very valuable. The problem, not that it's a problem, but the thing we want to do is consider these options when the unit is ordered, because they're half the price. If you go to try to add it after,
It's
and that's
a
the biggest thing that will hold up the range. So as a group, I'm saying, let's get the submittal, let Vin tell us what's included in the submittal. And then if there's anything we want to add to that, we should get it done right away so that we get the unit in production. I ordered units 2 weeks ago and they're 36 weeks out. So
Yeah.
we want to do that sooner than later is my point, is to get the unit, get the submittal, get it approved, pick what options, if we're going to pick any, and get it in line for production.
Right,
Yeah.
because the biggest thing about the referendum done quickly, and then also getting the Action Target agreement signed by the town, was to keep the cost that they had quoted us at that cost and not having it go, because we already had a big bump up on the HVAC cost. Because gone beyond the time limit that they had been able to hold.
Some of these items may very well be in Action Target's contract, and that's what I need to go over with them. I do know Action Target was on that they were on site, they took dimensions.
Yep.
They're starting to put together that submittal right now.
Yep.
But,
Right.
and I want to see the items that are on this list, A, can they be options on that unit? And B, are any of these items within the contract? If they're not, then we're gonna have to discuss them and see, as John said, pick and choose which ones we want and what are the more important ones. Or we can get a price on all of them and then pick it apart from that point. But that could start holding up what's going on. Because if these aren't in their contract, we might have to do a contract mod for them to order it. And I don't know how long that process will take.
Right. So we have to see, we can figure out what's best for, keeping the area around the equipment.
Yeah.
Same time, not hold.
Yeah, I have been trying to get together with him for about a week and a half, and we've been playing phone tag and email tag. He emailed me again, I think yesterday, asking if we can get together next week. He said, I'm out of the office. I'll be back in next Wednesday. Can we set up a call then? It's like, I'm trying to get a hold of him. Get these things in line.
Yeah. Well, if it's Rex, I know he travels around the country a lot.
Rex is out of the loop right now.
Okay.
So this belongs to David Johnson right now. He's
Okay,
the
so
project
it's
manager.
moved on to the next part of the project. Okay.
Correct. Yes.
Good. All right, great. Thanks, Ben.
You're welcome.
Is there anything else that you have for us? Because I don't think I have anything else.
No, that's a high level overview of where the project sits right now.
Yeah.
The important thing is getting Downs' contract signed, getting them on board so I can get them in the meetings.
Right. So if you can check in with, like I said, I checked in with Jeff. If you could check in with Jeff too, then we'll get that. If it gets signed by someone at Downs and then sent to me, I can print it up and bring it over to the municipal center and have the appropriate person sign it.
I think last time they offered to drop it off, so if they can swing by and drop it off, that'd be great.
That's fine too. Either way. Yeah. Great. Just keep me posted on it.
I will. I'll chase that down tomorrow.
Yeah, because if they're going to drop it off, I just want to make sure that once they drop it off, that it does get signed. And I would scan it and upload it to send it back to Downs, unless they want a paper copy, and then we can mail it. Yeah. Okay. All right. Good. Anything else from anybody else on the firing range? I don't have any invoices. We may be getting some soon, as Vinny said, so we may have to start. Well, the only one we've had so far has been from Okay, so thank you, Bob Durkin, for being on. Thank you, Vin. We're gonna move on to the municipal center renovations.
Have a good night, everybody.
Right.
Good night. Good night. Thanks. And with the municipal center renovations, I'm gonna introduce Mark Schweitzer, who just turned on his camera. Hi, Mark.
Good evening.
Mark is with Colliers, and Colliers has been retained by the town to be owner's rep and provide some project management services to a number of different projects in town, including our GP room lobby renovation. And I met with Mark and Scott Pellman, his, I don't know, is he your boss or whatever?
Yeah, he's ranked higher than I am. Yeah.
Yeah. To take a look at all of that. So they got on board and emailed them all the documentation, plans, etc. So they're getting up to speed on that. And what they had to come up with, I know I printed it here somewhere. I might have to show it on the screen because I can't remember if I emailed it to everyone. So Colliers has an agreement with the town to do these services, yet each project that they work on is going to be a little different as far as cost. So they came up with a cost for us, and I can put that on the screen if everybody needs to see it. First of all, did you make me co-host, Kathy? Yeah, you did. Okay. I have to find it so we can share it. That's it. Yes. So, and then what I want to do though too is to get input from everyone here on what I had talked to what I talked to Scott and Mark about having them do for us throughout the project, and I got some input back from Jay Metcalf from BMP. We're looking at about a 3-month time frame, and so we were talking about having probably once a month would all we'd be needing to have Mark attend one of our meetings, especially if we're getting invoices presented to us, and that we would have someone from an on-site person. I don't think it's you, Mark. I think it would be
No,
someone
it won't
else,
be
right?
me.
No, it
No,
would be you. Okay.
Yeah, I'm local.
So Mark would be stopping by once or twice a week, checking on things, checking in with BMP. Since we don't have the architect doing construction administration, having Colliers have an eye on this kind of stuff is going to be helpful for us. So I'm going to figure out how to share my screen. And are we seeing? What are we seeing on my screen? Me, or are we seeing this?
You're seeing a proposal.
Okay, so this is the proposal they sent for the lobby upgrades. So it's and because initially when I met with Scott and Mark, I don't know why the 6 months for the project sticks in my head, which sounds to me like way too long, but that's what I had told them. So they redid this really quickly and I got it back. He upgraded it, updated it on Monday, and like I said, I don't remember if I sent it out. But we're going to have to okay this, and then I don't know whether it has to get signed by somebody or how the town has it set up with Colliers once they come up with a fee. So, so we have Mark doing some job site overview and a couple of committee meetings and any closeout. And this is an estimate, and I'm not sure if it would be a not to exceed amount, Mark, or would it be?
It's an hourly not to exceed.
Okay. So any questions on this? Any input where you see we might need less time, more time, etc.? Anybody? Anybody?
What effect on the lead paint would it have on this?
So I'm not sure if it would make the project longer. That's a good question. And I did get an email from Jay Metcalf about so kind of backing up a little bit. When we did the testing several years back, we tested for asbestos and we tested for lead in the lobby, but also the area above, because we were originally going to be busting up in the area above. Now that we're not busting up into the area above, we don't have to worry about asbestos. However, the stairwell, so if you're inside the GP room or inside the lobby, facing the entrance to the GP room, to the right-hand side is a stairwell that goes up. That's the old men's room, and that's where the men's room is going to be. That stairwell is going to stay as an existing access to the storage above and also access to the roof, because that's where all the rooftop units all get access by maintenance, etc. On the left-hand side where the women's room is and is going to be, this, that one stairwell that we was just going to stay there. It's kind of sheetrocked off. And it was basically just going to stay there, kind of closed off. But when we decided to make the bathrooms a little bigger and then add that family bathroom in, we had to demolish the stairwell. And Jay was good about remembering that that was never tested, since we weren't going to do anything with it. Now that we are going to do something with it, like demolish it and throw it away, it was good that we did some testing, because there's lead paint on that stairwell. So as it gets taken apart and thrown away, he's checking in now what costs we might have to incur in disposing of that, the stairwell pieces. It's probably less expensive than taking the paint off of it and containing the paint and then throwing the stairwell
Right.
away. But he's going to check into all of that, which is going to become they don't do change orders with the whole accordion thing. They do what's called a supplemental, same thing. So he's checking in with his lead abatement contractors and finding out what's the process. So that's going to be another, like I said, I don't think it's going to add time. I think it's just going to be a cost to get rid of it, because we all know when that stuff has to get disposed of in the proper way, there's not just paperwork, but it has to get not thrown in one place, but in another place. And then I don't know how they deal with it after that. It's up to them. Anything else? What I'm going to do is I'm going to make a motion that we approve Collier's estimated hourly fee of $14,715 for the municipal center, GP room, lobby, providing owner's representation and construction oversight coordination.
I'll second that.
It's Roy, Roy's seconding. Any other questions or anything else that we need to look at with this? Okay, we take that.
Nance,
Yeah, yep.
So are we waiting, what are we actually waiting for to start the project? To just get the cost of the lead abatement taken care of, or?
I'm not sure. So what Jay said, he wanted to get the testing done before they came in and started doing demolition, because their first thing is they're going to come in and rip everything out. Before they started that, he wanted to get that tested, because if they started doing the demolition and then they tested it, everything would come to a screeching halt.
Right.
So I'm glad he did it ahead of time. In the meantime, because of it took him a little extra time to get the permit, and then doing this testing, he did say that he had his one lead carpenter off on another job, and they're going to be ready to start at the beginning of November. And
From our experience with the school project, lead contaminated debris is a lot more expensive than standard demolition debris. That's definitely going to be an additional cost.
well, it will be an additional cost, yes. And that's why we put a pretty hefty contingency
Yes.
on this project, because we knew that we may run into, even though they've busted holes in the walls all over the place and checked things, there's absolutely no asbestos in anything that they tested, but there is lead. So yes, that's going to be an extra cost. I don't think it's going to be the amount of the entire contingency.
Oh, God, no.
But yeah. So, and in emailing back and forth, when Jay said that they would be ready to start at the beginning of November, somebody asked, can we just wait till after election day, since, if he's going to start November 1st, why not wait till November 9th? And so that was agreed upon, and they'll get started as soon as they can after that.
All right. Answer my question. Thank you.
Good, thanks. So are we ready to vote? Any other questions? All in favor? Signify by saying aye, and kind of or wave or something. I can't see everybody because I'm looking at my screen share thing. So we're good on that, and then I'll find out the process of how we enter into agreement for this. And then I'm actually going to take that away because I don't think we need it anymore. And then Mark will have to find out from you how we're gonna do, however you do your invoicing, whether you do monthly, et cetera.
Yeah, we do monthly invoicing.
Like I said, I kind of think Mark is really not going to be needing to be we meet twice a month. I don't think he needs to be here twice every month. Things will probably move along pretty quickly, but he probably won't have a lot more if he's here twice. I said the same to Jay, that guy from BMP, when he's gonna, like, once they start submitting applications for payment, I would like to have him or someone from his company be a part of it, present them. You have something like it. Have do it.
Losing you, Nance.
What's that?
We're losing you. I am at least.
Oh, what happened? Did they freeze?
You're,
Am I back?
you're back.
Okay. I'm not getting that. My internet is unstable. And Kathy, we're gonna have to, I'll have to email Brad. We're gonna have to set up a quote account for this project, because once we start, I have an invoice tonight. Once we start getting other invoices, the finance is gonna need to know how to list that, which project to list it with. Okay, anybody, I have an invoice. Before we go to the invoice is actually for Hydronics for doing the testing. And if anybody has anything else before I get into the invoice, let me know. Mark, if you have anything that you need to know.
No, I am good. Thank
All
you.
right, so I'm going back to screen sharing, so I can share. It's a Hydronics Invoice testing that they did. And here. So do you see the Hydronics invoice?
You got to open it up.
Oh, because I see it, you don't. Okay, let me go back. And hang on just a second. And here and then there. Now, do you see it?
Yes.
Yay, thank you. I don't do this all the time, so. This is for both the asbestos and lead testing that they did. Like I said, they came in, BMP had a person there to cut open a hole in the wall in the sheetrock so they could get in there and do it. And then they covered the hole back up because that bathroom is still being used. And this is a little more than, I think they had originally said $890, but they spent a little bit more time on it than they thought. So the invoice is for $990. So I will make a motion that we approve Hydronics invoice number 48837, dated.
I'll second it.
John Perna seconds it for $990. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Done. And let me see, I gotta get rid of that. Stop screen sharing, we don't need that. Now we're back to all of our smiling faces, and I think we're good now with the Municipal Center locker room project. I did ask Rich, since he was in the office at the time, Rich Drain, about contacting everybody in the building. And so what's going to happen is there's going to be an email sent out to, there's a group called Everyone. So everyone in the building gets an email explaining about the project, and that hallway is going to be totally blocked off for 3 months. And the only way to get in there is gonna be where the construction workers are gonna go in and out through the main entry. And there'll be a dumpster on the front lawn. And that the gym and other parts of the building can be accessed through other hallways. They just are not gonna be able to go through the GP room lobby hallway anymore. So we're working on getting that written up, and sent out to everybody, so they're well informed, and that's not a surprise when they show up to work one day and you can't get through that area. Anything else?
I make a motion, we adjourn then.
Woohoo!
Okay.
Nope, Roy second, Dave also seconds it. Thanks, Dave. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Done. Yeah, I will bring you invoices tomorrow.
Terrific.
Thank you, Mark,
Thank
for
you.
being here, and we'll see you. We'll figure out which meeting would be best for you to be on in the future.